There's a push here in the Missouri State Capitol to incentivize more good behavior and self-improvement in the prison system with the possibility of an early release. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon spoke with a former inmate about how it could help.
Bo Cornelius sat before these Missouri lawmakers a free man after spending years behind bars.
Hopelessness is the most dangerous thing there is in correctional facilities.
A bill in Jefferson City would reward prisoners who transform themselves with early release through good time credits. Cornelius killed someone while driving drunk. He paid his debt, worked hard, followed every rule, and rebuilt himself from the inside out. But Missouri refused to recognize his redemption.
So whether I went in there and was a criminal or whether I went in there and rehabilitated, it didn't matter. My date was the same.
Missouri's top prosecutor, Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, is lobbying for transparent sentencing instead.
Whatever the judge is sentencing you to, you will have some degree of transparency and certainty about how much time you're going to serve. So I think that's step one.
Is there a way you think the state could incentivize people in the prison system right now to participate in those educational programs and better themselves?
Well, I think just what we're describing. If you get your sentence reduced for participating, and participating successfully, it can't just be check the box. It has to be real improvement.
It's all about the hope of the opportunity. These bills don't say we're going to let people out of prison. They say that you're giving another layer with the opportunity to release people from prison who have earned that opportunity.
The bill mirrors the First Step Act championed by the Trump administration. Strikingly, both Republicans and Democrats are working on this bill. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon.